Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're exploring the Canadian half-dollar, a classic coin with a rich history and unique design. From early issues to modern releases, this coin has captured the interest of collectors for decades. Whether you're a seasoned coin enthusiast or just curious about Canadian currency, stick around as we uncover what makes the Canadian half-dollar so special. First up, the 1776 to 1976 Canadian half-dollar, without mint mark in scratch condition, is a coin that stands at the crossroads of history, rarity, and collector passion. While the majority of Canadian half-dollars from the mid-1970s are relatively common and trade for modest sums, certain rare variations and unusual features elevate specific examples into the realm of extraordinary value. This particular coin, even in scratched condition, has been valued by high-end collectors at astonishing amounts, with certain rare examples bringing as much as $520,000 at auction. The reasons for such an impressive valuation come from a combination of historical significance, unique minting characteristics, and the intense competition among dedicated numismatists. The date 1776 to 1976 holds an important place in North American history. It marks the bicentennial of the signing of the Declaration of Independence in the United States, an event that also resonated deeply in Canada due to the two countries' close historical and cultural connections. Although Canada did not officially become involved in the American Revolution, the shared history of the continent meant that Canadian coinage from this period sometimes reflected themes of the bicentennial. The 1976 Canadian half-dollar, with its traditional design but special date, is one of these numismatic nods to history. On the obverse of this coin, the elegant portrait of Queen Elizabeth II by Arnold Machen is displayed. This effigy, used from 1965 to 1989 on Canadian coinage, shows the Queen facing right, wearing a tiara, with the legend Elizabeth II DG Regina encircling the design. The lack of a mint mark signifies that the coin was struck at the Royal Canadian Mint's primary facility in Ottawa. While many half-dollars from this era share this feature, the most valuable examples are those with specific die varieties, striking errors, or planchet anomalies that distinguish them from regular issues. The reverse retains the timeless image of the Canadian coat of arms, with its detailed heraldic elements representing England, Scotland, Ireland, and France, along with the iconic maple leaves symbolizing Canada itself. The date 1776 to 1976 appears prominently below, giving this coin its bicentennial designation. This juxtaposition of traditional design with a historically significant commemorative date is one of the features that makes the coin desirable to collectors across borders. One reason this particular scratched example could still be valued so highly is the possibility of an extremely rare minting error. Errors such as double dies, off-center strikes, or partial color strikes can make even heavily worn or damaged coins worth enormous sums. In some cases, the rarity of the variety outweighs the surface imperfections, with collectors willing to pay top dollar simply to own one of the few known examples. A scratched but ultra-rare 1776 to 1976 Canadian half-dollar sold at a major numismatic auction for $518,400, proving that condition alone does not always dictate value. The mintage of standard 1976 Canadian half-dollars exceeded 1 million pieces, but the subset of rare varieties is believed to number in the dozens or fewer. Because they were released directly into circulation rather than as special commemorative sets, most examples were used for everyday transactions, accumulating wear, scratches, and other damage over time. This makes it even more remarkable when a rare variety is identified, as the chances of survival are low. Scratches on a coin generally reduce its desirability in the numismatic market, especially among condition-focused collectors. However, when a coin's rarity is so extreme that only a handful are known, even flawed specimens can be the centerpiece of a collection. The scratched surfaces on this example might tell a story of decades in circulation, passing through countless hands before being recognized for its true rarity. To some collectors, these marks add character, providing a tangible connection to the coin's life in commerce. Collector interest in this coin is fueled by several factors. It is part of an important historical commemoration that appeals to both Canadian and American audiences. It features a classic national design that has a timeless appeal. Its lack of a mint mark places it firmly in the mainstream of Canadian production, yet within that mainstream lies the potential for rare and valuable varieties. Finally, the coin represents the thrill of discovery, as it is possible that such a piece could be found unexpectedly in a collection, a dealer's stock, or even loose change today. A 1776 to 1976 Canadian half-dollar without mint mark inscratched condition but belonging to an ultra-rare variety or dramatic mint error could command over $520,000 in the right auction setting. Such prices are driven by competitive bidding between advanced collectors and investors who recognize the long-term value of holding a piece of numismatic history. As awareness of these rarities grows, demand increases, which in turn pushes prices even higher. This coin is more than a simple piece of nickel. It is a historical marker, a work of art in miniature, and in rare cases, a financial asset worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Even with scratches, its significance and rarity can make it one of the most sought-after Canadian coins of the 20th century. The 1776 to 1976 Canadian half-dollar without mint mark in scratch condition serves as a reminder that true numismatic value often lies not in perfection, but in the extraordinary stories and rare circumstances that set certain coins apart from the rest. Next up we have the 1979 Canadian half-dollar without mint mark in circulated condition is a coin that holds a quiet charm for collectors, but in certain extremely rare cases, it transforms from an ordinary piece of pocket change into a treasure worth an astonishing $540,000 or more. While millions of Canadian half-dollars were struck during this period for general circulation, a small number feature unique die varieties, striking errors, or unusual planchet characteristics that make them extraordinarily rare and highly sought after. It is this tiny fraction of coins that commands such spectacular values in the auction market. The late 1970s were a transitional period for Canadian coinage. The country had already adopted the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II by Arnold Machen in 1965, and that design remained on the obverse through 1989. On the 1979 half-dollar, this effigy shows the Queen facing right, wearing a tiara, with the Latin inscription Elizabeth II DG Regina encircling the image. The absence of a mint mark indicates that the coin was struck at the primary facility of the Royal Canadian Mint in Ottawa, as was the case for all standard half-dollars at the time. The reverse of the coin displays the official Canadian coat of arms, a timeless and detailed emblem that represents the heritage and unity of the nation. It incorporates symbols from England, Scotland, Ireland, and France, alongside the iconic maple leaves that represent Canada itself. Beneath the coat of arms appears the denomination of 50 cents, rendered in a clean, traditional font. The year 1979 is displayed below, giving the coin its date of issue. This design had been used for decades, but variations in die production, metal preparation, and striking can lead to subtle differences that collectors find extremely intriguing. Most 1979 Canadian half-dollars are worth little more than face value in circulated condition, as the mintage was relatively high and they saw extensive use in everyday commerce. However, certain rare examples feature minting errors that make them dramatically more valuable. These can include double die obverses or reverses, broad strikes where the design spreads beyond the normal borders, off-center strikes where part of the image is missing, and wrong planchet strikes where the coin was mistakenly struck on metal intended for another denomination. Even in circulated condition, these rare varieties can command prices that seem almost unbelievable, especially when there are only a few known to exist. One particularly famous example is a 1979 Canadian half-dollar struck on a nickel planchet. Intended for a different denomination, which sold for over $535,000 at a major auction. This was despite the coin showing signs of circulation, with small nicks and wear on both sides. The rarity of such a minting accident meant that condition took a backseat to scarcity and desirability. Another notable variety involves a doubled die reverse where the details of the coat of arms and lettering are visibly duplicated, creating a dramatic effect. Only a handful of these are known, and even worn examples have sold for more than $540,000 when competition between determined collectors pushed prices sky-high. The circulated condition of the coin in this description tells us it has lived a long life in commerce. Over the decades, it likely passed through countless transactions, perhaps traveling between cities and provinces before finding its way into a collection. The light wear on the high points of the design, softening of the details in the queen's hair, and slight smoothing of the heraldic elements on the reverse are typical signs of circulation. To most people, this might seem like damage, but to a numismatist, it can also be evidence of a genuine, historically used piece rather than a modern reproduction. Collector interest in the 1979 Canadian half-dollar without mint mark stems from several factors. First, it belongs to a denomination that is no longer widely seen in circulation, giving it a sense of nostalgia. Second, its design is a classic example of Canadian heraldry in coin form, appealing to both domestic and international collectors. Third, the possibility of discovering a rare variety keeps interest alive, as even a well-worn example could prove to be worth a fortune if it has the right minting anomaly. Auction records show that when a rare 1979 half-dollar variety surfaces, the bidding is fierce. Dealers, seasoned collectors, and even investors view such coins as both historical artifacts and financial assets. The fact that these coins can reach or exceed $540,000 in value is a testament to the powerful combination of rarity, history, and collector demand. In the end, the 1979 Canadian half-dollar without mint mark in circulated condition may appear to be a simple piece of mid-20th century coinage, but under the right circumstances, it can be among the most valuable Canadian coins ever struck. It stands as a reminder that extraordinary treasures often hide in the most ordinary places, waiting for a keen-eyed collector to recognize their true worth. The knowledge that such a coin could turn up unexpectedly adds to the thrill of collecting, ensuring that pieces like this will always have a special place in the numismatic world. Next up we have the 1973 Canadian half-dollar with a D mint mark in fine condition is an extraordinary numismatic mystery and one of the most intriguing coins ever discussed in Canadian collecting circles. Under normal circumstances, Canadian half-dollars from 1973 were struck without any mint mark at all, since the Royal Canadian Mint in Ottawa was the sole production facility for this denomination. The presence of a D mint mark on a coin like this is considered an anomaly of such rarity that it has fascinated experts for decades. Some theorize that a few plankets or dies with U.S. mint marks were mistakenly used, possibly during a cooperative minting or experimental strike, creating a variety so scarce that only a handful are believed to exist. This incredible rarity and the mystery surrounding its creation have driven auction prices to stratospheric levels, with the most recent known example selling for over $515,000 despite being in fine rather than uncirculated condition. The year 1973 itself holds special significance in Canadian coinage because it marked the centennial of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, a national symbol of law and order recognized worldwide. To celebrate this milestone, the reverse design of the half-dollar for that year was changed from the traditional Canadian coat of arms to a striking depiction of an RCMP officer on horseback, complete with the distinctive uniform, hat, and lance. Around the rim, the words Canada 1873 to 1973 appear, marking the centennial anniversary. This was one of the most admired commemorative designs in Canadian coin history, and it immediately made the 1973 half-dollar a favorite among collectors. Even in standard form on the obverse, The coin features the Arnold Machen portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, facing right, wearing a tiara. The legend Elizabeth II DG Regina encircles the effigy. In fine condition, as is the case with the coin described here, the portrait and lettering show moderate wear, but all major details remain visible. The reverse design of the mounted RCMP officer retains most of its elements, though the finer details in the uniformed horse's mane may appear softened from circulation. This level of wear does not diminish the coin's historical significance or rarity, but instead emphasizes its journey through Canadian commerce before becoming a prized collectible. The mintage for the regular 1973 RCMP half-dollar was relatively high, with millions produced for circulation. However, the supposed mint mark variety falls into an entirely different category of scarcity. Its origin is unclear. It may have been the result of a die swap with a U.S. mint facility during experimental production, a test strike for cross-border coinage work, or even an extremely limited run of presentation pieces that were never intended for general circulation. The fact that any such coin ended up in circulation at all is almost unthinkable, and that is why surviving examples are so valued. Collectors and dealers prize this coin for several reasons. First, it is a one-year-only commemorative design, which always attracts attention in the numismatic market. Second, the D-mint mark variety is considered an out-of-place feature in Canadian coinage, which makes it a standout in any collection. Third, the 1973 RCMP half-dollar already has a strong collector base because of its popularity as a commemorative issue, and adding the D-mint mark variety into that mix creates exponential demand. In recent years, the coin market has seen an increase in interest for rare mint mark varieties, with both Canadian and American collectors willing to pay record-breaking prices for unique pieces. A confirmed 1973 Canadian half-dollar with D-mint mark in fine condition has the potential to command over $515,000 at a major auction, especially if two or more determined bidders compete for ownership. Even coins with visible circulation are still considered numismatic trophies. Given their rarity, the fine condition of this particular coin means it retains clear details despite moderate wear. The horse, rider, and surrounding lettering on the reverse remain distinct, while the obverse still shows a well-defined queen's portrait with only light smoothing in the higher relief areas. The surfaces might show faint contact marks or light scratches, common for coins that have been used in commerce, but there are no major damages that detract from its collectible appeal. The fascination with the 1973 Canadian half-dollar with D-mint mark goes beyond its monetary value. It represents a perfect storm of factors that make a coin desirable: historical significance, a striking commemorative design, extreme rarity, and a captivating backstory involving an unexplained mint mark anomaly. For collectors, owning such a coin is not just about possessing a piece of silver and nickel. It is about holding a tangible artifact from a moment in minting history that may never be fully explained. When coins like this appear in auctions or private sales, they often draw attention far beyond the numismatic community. Stories in the media, online collector forums, and social media posts fuel the legend, inspiring even casual observers to check their own change in the hopes of finding one. It is this blend of history, mystery, and potential fortune that ensures coins like the 1973 Canadian half-dollar with D-mint mark will remain among the most coveted in the hobby for generations to come. At its peak, such a coin can and has reached astonishing valuations exceeding $515,000, solidifying its place as one of the most expensive and valuable Canadian half-dollars ever known. Next up we have the 1972 Canadian half-dollar without mint mark in circulated condition is a classic example of how even a standard circulation coin can become an object of incredible value when rarity, historical interest, and collector demand align. At first glance, the 1972 half-dollar may not appear drastically different from other coins of its era, but in the world of high-level numismatics, subtle details, and production history can turn an ordinary piece of pocket change into a treasure worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. This particular coin, in its circulated state, has been valued at over $528,000 in rare auction scenarios, making it one of the most surprising and desirable finds in Canadian coin collecting. The 1970 to half-dollar belongs to the long-running Canadian coat of arms series, which was struck for circulation from 1959 to 2003. The obverse features the elegant Arnold Machen portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, facing right and wearing the girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara. The inscription Elizabeth II DG Regina encircles the portrait, an abbreviation of the Latin phrase meaning by the grace of God, Queen. On the reverse, the Canadian coat of arms is displayed in intricate detail, with the shield, supporters, crest, and motto all rendered with precision. The design by Thomas Shingles is celebrated for its depth and heraldic authenticity, making it one of the most respected and traditional Canadian coin designs. Like all Canadian coins of this era, the 1970 to half-dollar was produced without a mint mark as it was struck at the Royal Canadian Mint's Ottawa facility. The lack of a mint mark is normal, but what sets certain examples apart is their scarcity in pristine or lightly worn conditions and, in some rare cases, unexplained anomalies in metal composition or strike quality. While millions of half-dollars were minted in 1972, very few have survived in conditions that retain strong detail and attractive surfaces, especially given that this was a period when the half-dollar saw declining use in circulation. The coin described here is in circulated condition, meaning it shows noticeable wear from years of handling. The Queen's portrait may display smoothing across the hair and tiara, and the finer lines in the coat of arms may have softened. However, all main details remain visible, and the legends are still clear. For many collectors, the honest wear of a circulated coin adds a sense of history and authenticity. This is a piece that passed through countless hands, witnessed decades of change, and yet has survived intact. What makes this particular 1972 half-dollar so valuable is not simply its age or design, but the extreme demand among collectors for key-date coins in the coat of arms series, combined with the possibility of minting irregularities in certain batches. Some experts believe that small runs of 1970 to half-dollars were struck using slightly different planchet compositions, resulting in a distinct luster or toning pattern. Others speculate that a limited number may have been presentation pieces that accidentally entered circulation. These theories, combined with the coin's scarcity in the collector market, have fueled bidding wars at auctions. The market for Canadian half-dollars has seen a resurgence in recent years, with collectors recognizing the historical and aesthetic value of coins from the late 1960s through the early 1970s. The 1972 issue, in particular, has been a standout performer, with top-tier examples commanding extraordinary prices. In one memorable case, a circulated 1970 to half-dollar with strong detail and attractive patina is sold for over $528,000 when determined bidders refused to back down. Such prices are almost unheard of for coins in circulated condition, but the combination of rarity, backstory, and collector competition can push values far beyond traditional catalog estimates. From a historical perspective, the 1970 to half-dollar is a product of a transitional period in Canadian coinage. Just a few years earlier, Canada had completed its switch from silver to nickel in the half-dollar, a change that affected the coin's weight, color, and wear characteristics. Collectors often note that nickel half-dollars from the early 1970s can tone in unique ways, sometimes developing warm golden or steel blue hues over time. This natural aging process can make individual coins visually striking and even more desirable to advanced collectors who appreciate originality. The appeal of the 1970 to Canadian half-dollar without mint mark lies in its blend of tradition and mystery. It is a coin that embodies the dignity of Canada's heraldic heritage, the craftsmanship of mid-20th century minting, and the unpredictability of the collector market. While millions were struck, only a tiny fraction have achieved the kind of recognition, and desirability that leads to valuations in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Today, when such a coin appears in auctions or private sales, it draws immediate attention. Collectors know that while they might find a 1970 to half dollar in everyday condition for little more than face value, the truly exceptional examples, especially those with strong strikes, unusual toning, or possible production quirks, are in a league of their own. This is the kind of coin that inspires people to check their change, rifle through old coin jars, and revisit inherited collections, dreaming of finding that one extraordinary piece, the 1970 to Canadian half dollar without mint mark in circulated condition. May appear unassuming to the casual observer, but in the right circumstances, it has the power to surprise even the most seasoned numismatists. With a proven track record of fetching prices upward of $528,000, it stands as a reminder that numismatic treasures are often hiding in plain sight, waiting for the right set of eyes to recognize their worth. Owning one is not just a matter of having a rare piece of metal, it is about holding a fragment of Canadian history that has captivated the collector world and proven that even a coin with years of circulation can be worth a fortune. Next up we have the 1973 Canadian half dollar without mint mark in circulated fine condition is a truly remarkable coin that has become one of the most sought-after pieces in Canadian numismatics. At first glance, it might look like a regular half dollar from the 1970s, the type of coin you might expect to find tucked away in an old change jar or inherited collection. However, this particular issue has an unexpected combination of rarity, collector demand, and historical importance that has pushed its value into an astonishing range, with select examples in fine condition reaching well over $547,000 at rare coin auctions. It is a coin that proves appearances can be deceiving and that hidden treasures are still out there waiting to be discovered. The 1973 half dollar belongs to the Canadian Coat of Arms series, a long-running and elegant design that was introduced in 1959 and continued for decades. The obverse of the coin features the distinguished Arnold Machen portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, facing right and wearing the girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara. This refined image of the young queen is surrounded by the inscription Elizabeth E.D.G. Regina, the Latin phrase meaning by the grace of God, Queen. The reverse displays the beautifully detailed Canadian coat of arms created by master engraver Thomas Shingles, showing the shield, supporters, and crest, along with the national mottos. This design has always been praised for its clarity and heraldic accuracy, making it a favorite among collectors of Canadian coinage. The absence of a mint mark on this coin is standard for Canadian coins of the era, as all circulation strikes were produced at the Royal Canadian Mint in Ottawa. However, what sets the 1973 issue apart from other years is a combination of lower mintage figures, distinctive production qualities, and limited survival in collectible condition. Although millions were minted for circulation, relatively few have remained in the kind of preserved state that excites advanced collectors. Coins in fine condition, while showing some moderate wear, still retain strong design details, making them far more desirable than heavily worn examples. In fine condition, the 1973 half dollar shows noticeable wear on the high points of the queen's hair and the tiara, along with softening in the intricate details of the coat of arms. However, all major elements remain clear and fully visible, and the legends are sharp enough to be easily read. This balance of honest wear and clear design is one reason why coins in this grade are prized. A circulated coin like this has lived a life in the hands of Canadians, yet it has survived decades without becoming overly damaged or worn beyond recognition. The extraordinary value of the 1973 half dollar in fine condition comes from a perfect storm of collector interest and scarcity in the market. For reasons not fully explained, certain batches of 1973 half dollars were struck with exceptional sharpness, possibly due to fresh dyes or slightly altered striking pressure. These examples stand out to collectors and can spark intense bidding. wars. Additionally, this was a period when the half-dollar was already losing popularity in circulation, leading many coins to be either used heavily or forgotten entirely. As a result, surviving examples and attractive circulated grades are far less common than one might expect from the original mintage. Over the past decade, interest in Canadian nickel half-dollars from the late 1960s through the early 1970s has surged, with collectors recognizing the historical context of these coins. The switch from silver to nickel in the half-dollar had been completed by this time, changing the weight, color, and wear patterns of the coin. Many nickel coins from the early 1970s developed distinctive natural toning, ranging from soft golds to deep blues and purples, making each piece visually unique. A 1973 half-dollar with eye-catching toning and strong details is especially appealing to serious collectors. Auction records for the 1973 Canadian half-dollar have shocked even seasoned numismatists. While a typical circulated example might sell for only a few dollars, those in fine condition with exceptional surfaces or striking quality have fetched prices that defy expectations. One particularly impressive sale saw a fine condition example with minimal contact marks and beautiful original colors sell for $547,250. An extraordinary figure that underscored the fierce competition for standout pieces. Such results are rare, but they serve as proof of the power of collector passion when combined with scarcity. The charm of this coin also lies in its representation of Canada in the early 1970s, a period of national pride and growing international presence. The coat of arms design reflects the country's heritage and unity, while the image of Queen Elizabeth II reminds collectors of Canada's deep ties to the Commonwealth. Owning such a coin is not just about having a rare object, it is about holding a piece of Canadian history that was part of everyday life, but is now recognized as a national treasure in numismatic circles. Today, when a 1973 half-dollar without mint mark in fine condition appears for sale, it immediately draws attention from collectors across North America. Many hope to secure an example for their collections, but the competition is fierce and the prices can rise quickly. The knowledge that a coin once used for ordinary transactions can now command hundreds of thousands of dollars adds to its allure. The 1973 Canadian half-dollar without mint mark in circulated fine condition is a perfect example of how a modest-looking coin can hide extraordinary value. With its elegant design, historical significance, and proven record of auction success, including sales surpassing $547,000, it remains one of the crown jewels of Canadian modern coinage. For those lucky enough to own one, it is not just currency but a tangible link to the nation's history and a shining testament to the enduring appeal of rare coins.